Hi, everybody.
Hey.
It's Dan Goldberg here.
How you doing?
Welcome to another episode of Digging for Gold. You can check us out on TikTok for Bearded Brilliance, on Instagram at Bearded Brilliance for You, Bearded Brilliance for You. And let's see, YouTube, we're Dan G for You Too. And then you'll find Digging for Gold. And of course, on Spotify, it's Digging for Gold. And it's also on Apple and Amazon and all the other ones.
All the good ones, right?
All the good ones, which is all of them, basically.
It's pretty much all.
And we're here with Scott Buell, who combines drones, AI, teaching, technology, of course, and helps students, in the meantime, learn a lot of things about drones, AI, and how they interconnect.
Yeah.
Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you, man. Good to see you, man.
It's good to see you, too.
Yeah. This is great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Tell us about how you got started in this.
Well, that's a story. So, look, I'll go back a little bit. So, we're an education company. Drone Legends so let me just back up a little bit. So Dynamic Learning Experiences is the actual company. Drone Legends, I'll hold up this cool book. Drone Legends is a brand. It's a branded series. It's kind of like a universe of brands. And I built that over the last 5 years. So in 2019, I quit my corporate gig. I just walked away. I was in my early 50s. I had started to bounce around a little bit, and there's a little bit of a story here of missing your purpose in life, because as a young guy, I never had a direction. I never felt as I was going somewhere. I think I have a lot of innate talent, but I just floated everywhere. And so when you cast out on that sea with no direction and no map, you might end up on sandy beaches, or you might be cast on some jagged rocks. And I think I experienced a little bit of all of that. But as I got older, and not having set off on that trajectory, I found myself in my early 50s very disillusioned with where I'd ended up. A lot of good things were going on in my life, but there were a lot of, my career felt, I just didn't like it. 2015, if we back up a little bit, I had picked up a drone. I just saw a kid outside my neighborhood around the holidays. I guess he had gotten a drone for Christmas. And I thought, that looks like a lot of fun. And this is what I'll talk major commercialization of drones. They were just toys and hobby stuff, right? So I went out and I bought this little cheapy thing and was flying it around my neighborhood out there in Jersey. And I got hooked. This was a lot of fun. I thought I could get into this. And so I started to do it more and more. And then I got bigger toys and they got more advanced. And when you fast forward over the years, by 2019, the commercial drone services market was starting to explode. And now we're seeing companies like a Zipline Drones, who's started off delivering medicines to people in remote areas of the world. Tomorrow, they're going to be dropping packages on your doorstep. They've got a market cap of over 400 million now. You're seeing the military use of drones. You're seeing it in a ton of commercial agriculture. So drones are ubiquitous. They kind of hit every industry in some way, shape, or form. In 2019, when I'm sitting here looking for what am I going to do? I don't like where I am. So I quit my job and I said, I'm going to start a drone business. That's what I did. Started this little thing called Latitude 360, and I went and I got my FAA Part 107 pilot certification, which is a fancy way of saying that I can now fly commercially. And I started doing real estate marketing in the Philadelphia area, New Jersey area, PA. And it was okay. It was cool. I liked it. It was freedom. I was finally free. But here I was, a 50-something-year-old guy with a big mortgage and kids and everything. And I was like, this would be cool to start out this way. But I had a couple of pathways to choose from. What I started to see was that specialists in certain industries will use a drone as another tool in their toolbox. Not, hey, I've got a drone, let me go find all this business. And that's what I started to see. Around in November of that same year, I was invited into a 5th grade classroom in Camden Promise Charter School in Camden. And
New Jersey.
Yeah, so in Camden, New Jersey, and I went into this private school, this Camden Promise Charter School. And to talk to kids about drones. I was invited in through a friend of a friend. And I kind of grabbed at my drones, and I had been noodling this idea of like drone camp. I'd seen it somewhere. Somebody else had kind of teased the idea out. I saw these two guys in the Midwest doing something. And so the idea was kind of on my mind because I was looking, where can I go with like drones? What can I do with it that I could actually scale and have impact? True. And so things line up, you know, when you start to connect those dots. And so I walk into this classroom with my micro drones, and I'm holding up one of our little programmable micro drones here. It's called a Tello. It's made by the same company that makes the bigger drones, like they're called DJI. And this is a great little drone, safe, durable. We can actually do coding with this drone, so we can do some basic Blockly-based coding. So I walk in with some of these drones and stuff, and I start talking to the kids, like, hey, do you know what I do? And they all start moving to the front of the class, and they're just fascinated by what I've got. And then I take this little drone off, and this thing fits in the palm of my hand. And
it does.
Hovering.
And it's maybe what, 8 inches in diameter, 6 to 8 inches.
6 by 6 little thing.
Yeah.
And they're loving it, and the teachers are watching this in awe. And so what started off as one class in the morning turned into every teacher in that school wanted me to come and talk to their kids throughout the day. So I had lunch there, and I was there. And I walked out of there that day exhausted. So my hat, I had a newfound appreciation for for teachers and the profession of teaching. I literally was a horrifying student. I was not even checked out. I was disruptive. And so, because I got sent away when I was like 14. It's part of my story. And I walked out of there that day with the newfound appreciation for teachers, going, wow, they do that every day. And also, I looked up and I said, well, that took you 50 odd years to tell you what you're going to do. Because they all looked at me and said, I don't know what you're doing now, but you ought to be doing what you just did.
Wow.
And so I then pivoted. I said, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to start after-school drone programs. STEM. All this was new to me. I didn't know STEM. But here I am, out there looking, searching, pivoting, talking to people, talking to teachers. And in that moment, Drone Legends was born.
Wow.
And yeah, so go ahead.
I love your stickers, by the way.
Oh, the little logo?
Drone
Yeah,
Legends
the
stickers.
logo is, there's these cool, I've got some in there. This is kind of a modified version. I'm holding up one of our curriculum books of the logo.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you why the logo is what it is. But there's a lot of stories still in terms of why. I posted something yesterday on LinkedIn, and I'd heard this guy on a podcast say, in business, it's oftentimes being better isn't the best. Being different is better than being better.
Yeah.
And we very much view ourselves, and I think innately I knew that years ago. We've done a lot of work to differentiate ourselves from the rest of the STEM world and the robotics worlds, and they focus on the tech, and we focus on the kids and the teachers.
It's great. It's great. Yeah.
That's why we're legends and not like drone robots or something.
Yeah, and it's interesting to your point about doing something different. It doesn't have to be better, just different. It's always great if it's better and different. Okay?
Definitely, for sure.
And the examples I like to use are IKEA.
Yeah.
Didn't invent furniture. They just invented a different delivery system.
Right.
Something else to do with it. Pardon me. You do your own. I didn't invent eyeglasses. I just invented a different way to deliver eyewear and to sell eyewear, and both of IKEA and Four Eyes changed the industry and had an impact on the optical and the furniture industry.
Yep.
And other people sold glasses, same thing.
Yeah.
So
well, other people were doing drones in school, and we just took a different approach.
it's interesting how the word drone has changed its meaning.
Yeah.
In the old days, when someone was a drone, they were droning on.
They were droning on.
It was like, oh, I gotta get.
Well, you know where it gets its
drone.
name.
Where?
So I'm going to butcher this, but here's the gist of it.
Okay.
World War II, there was a, literally you could picture this thing, they had a ground station and they were remotely piloting like a biplane or something like this, right? And it was a decoy. And it was called the Queen Bee or something. And so the drones is related to the bee. The male drones, it was autonomous, automatic.
Right.
So that's how it got its name. That's how autonomous vehicles get their name drone.
How
through.
about
You can
that?
look that up because I completely butchered it, but
It's the kernel of
the
it.
kernel's in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that, and it's very interesting because
Yeah.
now that you bring it up.
Yeah, and everybody likes to think of quadcopters as drones, but there's
Right.
amphibious drones, there's underwater drones, there's land drones. It's just uncrewed. You know, if we're being PC, it's not even unmanned; it's uncrewed vehicle.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
So a quadcopter or a hexacopter or even a remote helicopter is an unmanned aerial vehicle, or UAV.
yeah.
Yeah. So we just call them drones.
But now we identify them, so they're not unidentified.
That's right.
Flying.
No,
objects.
they are uncrewed.
They're
you know,
uncrewed. Yeah.
Aerial vehicles.
CREWED.
Correct.
Crewed.
Like there's nobody inside it.
Right.
Nobody's
That's
flying
correct.
that's being manned from the ground.
So what are the students' reactions? How do they get into trying to figure out how to use one, build one?
Yeah. So we started off.
And by the way,
Uh-huh.
how old are these students?
So I have programs now ranging from K through 12. But where I started was in this like 4th, 5th, 6th grade level. Again, using this drone in classrooms. This is this little micro drone. But here's what I saw. So if you think about my story, I went to this character development school in Maine called Hyde School. And it Hyde, Hyde. It's Hyde School, and it focused on character development. And so I've carried that with me. Again, I was in bad shape when I was about 14 years old. Like my prospects for the future were nil. I shouldn't be here today. If I hadn't gone to Hyde, Lord knows where I'd be today. And so I carry that with me. And they focused on leadership, courage, integrity, curiosity, concern. They were much more focused on building your character. A lot of us, we had to play sports, we had to be involved in performing group, and there was no do you want to, it was you will. And oh, by the way, and here's the ones you'll take, Scott.
You were voluntold.
I was voluntold to play football, wrestling, and lacrosse because I thought I was cool and tough, and they were like, okay, let's see how tough you are on the football field.
Right.
Good. So anyway, I carry that with me. So when you think about drone legends and what are they doing, when I started off, I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't not come from an education background. I had no experience doing this, none whatsoever. And so I started asking around, like, what can we do? And I saw others doing something, and I thought, well, maybe I can take surely, here's my thought process. I just wanted to be free of the corporate world. So I thought, well, I can start this nice lifestyle business in the South Jersey area, and I'll run drone clubs after school. And I had started to talk to the teachers at my son's school and the Evesham Township Public Works there, and going into those camps and things like that, and saying, could I run something here with drones? And all of them were very positive response to it. But I didn't know what I was going to do. What are you going to do for 8 weeks with kids? What are you just going to fly around? That didn't seem right to me. Coding? So I looked for curriculum that I could, like, quote unquote white label, where I could maybe just take with somebody. Surely somebody somewhere had figured this out. That's what I thought. And I couldn't find it.
So nobody had figured it out.
They weren't. Not well. What I was doing is I was going around talking to teachers, and they're telling me all the same thing. Hey, everybody loves to sell us this hardware. They'll sell us tons of hardware, batteries and propellers and drones and this and that, and then they'll go, and then the curriculum is like an afterthought, and they'll go, and that's STEM, and they walk away. And I was like, well, we're not going to do that, because that was kind of my own experience.
Explain what STEM means.
Oh, science, technology, engineering, math. So those are the disciplines. I guess it got the buzzword in like the 2008. I think it really started to catch on. These are the disciplines that we think our kids need to succeed in the 21st century. They need to understand the integration of those things. And holistic STEM is really like, STEM is everything. If you look around you, it's kind of everywhere. You know, this mic boom, it's STEM all over it, right? The components, the parts, the engineering, the molding. Somebody had to create this thing. That's STEM. Later, they injected the A into it to create STEAM, which is the arts, because the arts community got a little bent out of shape that the STEM community didn't include arts, and now there's STREAM, and after some point it just loses its thing, right?
Right.
So reading, whatever, or I think have you ever heard religion? So anyway, so we're STEM. And I'd heard that. So I'm I've heard an expression. I listen to a lot of businessy content, and
Right.
sometimes the best business is when the entrepreneur scratches an itch.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I had an itch to scratch because I was frustrated. And I also came from a background of like 20 plus years of sales, marketing. I was an ad agency guy. I knew customers. I was an account executive. So I had all of this background that a lot of what I call the dronies did not have, right? And I watched what they were doing, and they were making all of these mistakes. They were hyper-focused on the technology. That's all they were consumed with. And they didn't have any empathy for the end user. It was like so I would watch, because my teachers get these products, right? So these teachers get these products, and you gotta imagine, it's this. Let's just paint the avatar for a minute, right? I'll paint with a very broad brush because it's super nuanced. But if you just want to try to capture like a Rockwellian image of what this looks like, it's this 30-something, usually female, probably was the math teacher, maybe a science teacher, and STEM becomes a buzzword in schools, and the superintendent or the district says, we're going to be a STEM district. Because nobody goes to school to teach STEM, right? Science is one vertical inside the STEM continuum. And so they're like, okay, Ms. Jenkins, you're the STEM director. Start a STEM program. And so Ms. Jenkins is great. She's smart. She's excited. But she's never, forget the drones, she's maybe never even done any of these robotics and engineering and coding. Coding, I was the math teacher or a science teacher. And they get thrown into these positions, or they take them willingly because they're up for the challenge. And I think it's a little combination of the both.
Right.
And then they're asked to go find something cool, engaging for the kids. And they go to like one of these educational technology conferences or an after-school enrichment conference, of which we exhibit, right? And they see drones. They go, oh, and then they go, my kids would just die for this. Like, they would just kill for this. And so they go back to their school. They go back to their superintendent or the principal, and they say, I saw these drones, and I think this is going to be cool, and the kids are going to love it. And by the way, we can code with it. And they get these drones, and they don't have any background. They don't know what the heck they're doing. And so what I saw the providers at the time doing, largely, were making all these broad assumptions on, well, because they know drones. They're the technicians, right? Like, they get it. They understand how to turn it on and do this and make sure these propellers are in the right direction, and when you need to fly. So when they're creating their quote unquote curriculum, they're going from like A to G. and the teachers are stuck, at like 8.5, going, whoa, slow down, like, what's next? What am I doing? And so we saw all of that, and we said, we're not doing that. Clearly, we're not going to do that.
Right.
So, and then I also wanted it. I'm a kid of the 70s, man. I grew up watching, Sid and Marty Krofft and Star Wars, and I was a Kiss kid. And I loved the big, over-the-top. I thought, what kinds of things did I like? What would I be attracted to? Textbooks? Blech. No. So how do we marry all of this, right? How do we create structured systems and curriculum? Because all the beautiful illustrations in our products are super well illustrated. I'm holding up a book. You'll see this right now. Like, they almost look like graphic novels.
They're great.
They're beautiful,
they're
right?
great.
I got lucky. I found some amazing people, some amazing curriculum writers. We've got programs for even kindergarten. So I wanted them to have a visual appeal that was engaging and captivating for the students. So they felt like they're involved in something that this is what they pick. They would pick this. I would love to do that. Drone legends, right? Not drone bits, bots, blocks, or bytes, and we'll get to that. The second, though, but I knew that all of this couldn't mask, it had to be academically rigorous. And so I found really great curriculum people that were like these super intense, cool, creative teachers doing really neat things. And I'm like, you're coming over here. And I said, because I don't know how to do curriculum. I said, I've created all this content. There's a whole backstory of COVID and everything. And I was doing this online, trying to survive. I built this in like January of 2020, I decided I'm going to do after-school STEM programs with drones, and then everything shuts down. So I started flying drones with kids in their bedrooms on Zoom. It was wild. You can go back and look at our YouTubes. It's insane. I had literally, I'd show up, 10 kids would be on a Zoom.
By the way, let me ask you.
I'm like rolling here.
What is your YouTube channel? What is your Instagram?
I'll give you all that. So YouTube is Drone Legends. You can look us up. We are like just Google drone. Go to YouTube and type in Drone Legends. You'll find us. No, you can just type in the Drone Legends and we'll find us. We Are Drone Legends is typically our social media handles, like at We Are Drone Legends. I think it might be different on Twitter X. It might be like drone_legends. But for the most part, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. My gosh, where else? Snapchat. We're on everything. We're on everything. You could find us. So I found these great, and because I had all this knowledge, and I said, so you're going to help me take I said, and I'm putting the drone behind my back, and this is like my way of saying, I don't want you to know anything about the drone. I'll tell you all that stuff. You tell me, you extract the knowledge out of my head and tell me how to put it into a system that's going to work for anybody that doesn't know what they're doing. And while we're at it, let's focus on those STEM teachers and help them deliver real STEM in their classrooms. We'll make it cool, but it's going to be aligned to standards. It's going to have academic rigor, and it's going to be turnkey. So not only do we create the curriculum, but every little thing comes in. It's a kit. We call them turnkey curriculum systems. And so when you purchase a Drone Legends program, we don't run these programs, we train. We offer unlimited professional development too, training. When you get one of these in your school, it's a box of stuff. It's your drones and your books and your online portal, and it's your batteries and your chargers and every little thing. As we were building each mission, and we don't do lessons, we do missions that are based on real world scenarios. So for example, this is tied to careers too. So there's all this great stuff, like we are delivering zip line. I'm holding up a book right now, Zipline Drones Delivers Life-Saving Medicines. So problem-based learning models, we send the kids, hey, there's been a child's been bitten by a snake, a venomous snake in the mountainous village of Cabejo. And they're reading this, right? So there's a little literacy weaving in here, geography. Your job is to get the anti-venom to the student in a certain amount of time. You're going to do this both manually, and then we're going to automate it so you can see how to code it. And they build the structure. We have these structures. We agonized over this. We're going to do hoops, fly through hoops every single day for 8 weeks? I don't think so. So the curriculum writer, she's a mom of 3. She's one day, I'm literally trying to, like, structural designers, can you create things that are modular? And she just looks down and her kids are playing with this builder set, this fort builder set that you can just get like on Amazon. And we now since have partnered with the manufacturers, and they create them for us with our colors and things like this and to our specs. But we found these great builder sets. So you get the builder set, and we built these things. Everything's in your kit. And so then when you get your lesson planner.
So wait, so they're building, what is it exactly?
They're building a structure. So for example, if you look in this book.
They're building a drone?
No. They're building the actual structure. This drone is not buildable. This is going to be they don't build.
The drone you're holding.
They're building the structure that they're going to navigate through. They're building Cabejo, essentially. Okay, and they're going to navigate through this, so they work in teams. Pilot, observer, safety director. They're collaborating, because everybody wants to fly, but they can't fly at the same time.
Right.
So what we do is, now we build them in teams, and you can put like 4, maybe 5 teams of 3 to 4 kids in a room. We're only working in like 10 by 10 foot zones. These drones, we don't go crazy. People think, and that's another thing. So I could go on and on, right? Structured, right? Very structured. We keep these structures that we build, that these kids put together, these modular things. Right. It actually anchors them to things. So instead of just saying you're going to go zip around this room, which is the perception when you say kids and drones in classrooms, you're like, holy crap, what's that look like? Are they going to flying into walls and stuff?
Right.
No, they're working in like 10 by 10 foot zones, and they're hyper fixated on these targets. And they're trying to get through them. And it's like, you've got to deliver the medicine. And these drones flip too. So we have these little flip cups, and they toss things and try to, and then they'll code that. And then they'll measure it. They'll break out the tape measures.
So they have to be like a marksman.
Totally. And it's precision. And they're working together. So the visual observer is helping the pilot navigate The safety director is there to make sure that the blades are on properly, the propellers and the batteries in, and they're doing proper pre and post launch protocol. And then we're putting them into real world scenarios, so they're learning about how drones can be used in real world applications, a la career tracks. And so all of this works as a system.
Right.
And it's what's made us extremely successful in what we've done, because the teacher, I go back to my days as an account executive, and I know it sounds so trite, but it is so easy to forget your end user and get caught up in yourself.
And there's no doubt about it.
And you just got to understand, and whenever I talk to my team all the time and I say, no matter what you do, from the time you create an ad, to the time you answer the phone, to when we're building curriculum, to when you're customer support, to when you're providing training, to when you're dealing with complaints, which we don't get a lot of, thank goodness. I want you to imagine, or when they're opening the box for the first time, when they received it, when they've ordered it, post-order, right? Did they get it? Be them for a minute. Try to imagine that you're on the receiving end of all this. And then maybe that'll change the way you think about how you create and how you talk to somebody and how you deliver and how you build. Because if you can imagine yourself being on the end of it, do you feel like we give a crap?
Right.
Do we care, or do we just want their money?
Well, that's interesting you bring that up, because I've always felt that is one of the conundrums with teaching for a lot of people. Whether you're a K or kindergarten to 12th or a professor in the university or college, do you think about the people you're teaching? Or is it just a job where you walk in at a certain time and leave,
right,
and you give them assignments and you read out of a book or show PowerPoints? Are you boring them to death, or are you invigorating them?
Yeah.
And what you're doing, obviously, is invigorating these students. And that's always, my wife will tell you this, that's always been my thing about teaching.
Yeah.
Am I invigorating my students?
Yeah.
Am I making them think? Am I making them want to come to class? Are they excited?
Yeah,
are they excited?
Right.
Are they learning things that they can use?
Do you make them like learning? I think that's so
it.
critical. And we help. I'm lucky because I guess my exposure to teachers has been through my programs and going in and talking to the teachers that are using them. And you can imagine they are the ones that are running the STEM programs that have these.
Right.
And I've gone to some classrooms. Alethea, if she's listening, Alethea E.C. Setzer. She was down in, now I can't remember, Charles Pickney Elementary. I went down and looked at her classroom. Her classroom was like Star Wars. It was like lights on the walls and bins of stuff. And I mean, these are cool spaces.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate that these are the places, these are the teachers that are absolutely agonizing over how to make their space engaging for their kids. And they're the ones that put their necks on the line to bring drones into their school, right? I mean, it could go horribly wrong if not executed the right way. So I'm so lucky that these are the teachers. And I have a podcast called Legend Makers, and I bring teachers on. The reason we'll call them the Legend Makers is because I founded Drone Legends. When I saw that day, let's go back to 2019 in Camden Promise Charter. When I saw the power of the shiny object, I'm holding my drone again.
Right.
When I saw that with those young kids, I thought, that's it. Because now that I've got your attention, there's a lot of cool things we can do. I'm going to make you like learning. And that's why I believe that inside every child there's a legend. If you go back to my Hyde School days, they called it your unique potential. They believe that every single one of us, when challenged, when demonstrating character qualities, could unlock what we call our unique potential.
I agree with that.
And mine is just inside every child there's a legend. And my legend is just another way of saying unique potential. There's a legend inside every one of these children. And so that's why we're called Drone Legends. the podcast is called Legend Makers because my programs are used by the people that are actually on the front lines, the teachers. And they're the ones that are creating legends in their classrooms, not me, them. And so we serve them. And when we do that the right way, and it's great, just talking from a sales perspective, when I train my sales team, it's the best thing in the world. I sold oftentimes commodity products in my life, right? I sold print. What could be more commoditized than print, right? And that's hard. It's like selling, something door to door. So when Drone Legends was born, I remember thinking, it'll never be commoditized. And so when you think about what I just said about the legend makers and inside every child there's a legend, whenever we bring on board a new salesperson, I'm very careful to let them know that this is like nothing you've ever done before. I want you to stop thinking about us and them like we're sitting across from this table right now, you and I. It's not. We believe that inside every child lives a legend. Well, every single podcast I ask these teachers, why did they start teaching? And almost to a single it's always because I wanted to make a difference. And so then when you look at it through that lens, it isn't us and them, my sales rep that I'm talking to now, new salesperson. It's we. We have the same mission. Right. So we're not, I'm not trying to sell you this.
Right.
I'm giving you a tool, a resource that can help you fulfill your mission. And we share that mission. And that is powerful. And so it's hard to forget your end users, and I think we're just obsessed with it. We're just absolutely obsessed with it.
I totally understand it completely.
Yeah, right.
I love my students. I tell them that all the time. I'll do anything for them within reason. They're my children or grandchildren, basically, more like grandchildren. And I want them to succeed.
Yep.
And I always tell them 20 years from now, when you pass my dirt, just wave and say thank you. Okay. So
right. Well, I'm sure they will.
If I've done anything to help them grow, but it's all about them.
Yes,
it's not really about me. It's about them. What are they learning? What are they invigorated by and stuff like that?
Well, yeah.
And I can see that you will be growing drone people, scientists, engineers,
so much fun,
math people,
coders, right? Game
technologists,
coders. They love it. We've already got we've got kids that come into our programs. We had a big thing running out in Fresno. One of the instructors there told us a story about Mario, little kid Mario. Probably was like little Scotty when he was growing up. Little tough kid, came from rough background. And the fun thing about these drones is they go in 3 dimensions, right? So when you're coding the drone, unlike a floor robot that can go in an X, Y, we throw in a Z. And they get to see something. I still think it's the coolest. When you plug in an X, Y, and a Z coordinate in like these coding blocks that we used, and then you launch the drone and it's autonomously going and it just moves to a point in space, it's cool. And you did it. Right? Like you were behind that, but it's now, and what the kids see is they make this connection to like so think about Fortnite, right? Their video games. Those characters are jumping and jumping out of the sky and landing on the ground and running on the ground, and they are going in an X, Y, and a Z coordinate. So they make that connection, and so little Mario wants to now be a video game programmer because he just made a drone move.
Wow.
So he goes, I can do that. So I can certainly do that with other characters and other things and other objects. So that happens all the time.
That is so cool.
It's very cool. It's amazing.
It is, and as you and I talked about prior to broadcasting this and doing this show, every generation basically grows up with new information.
Yeah.
Okay. in my age, when people say, well, you do this, you do that, and you do this, and it's just like, I said, whoa. Okay, for you, it's just do this, do that, do this, and for me, it's you got to teach me how to do this, do that before I can do this and do that.
That's right.
And these young boys and girls are starting from that point of learning how to do this and that, so that they can build on that. The interesting thing will be in 20 years or 5 years or 2 years of what the next thing is.
Right. Well, it's AI, and we know that. And I think I've been thinking a lot about this lately. It goes back to this whole idea of the people, not the tech. And so when you think about what these kids are growing up with, the education system isn't set up to really build them for success. Not with exceptions, but for the most part, we're still kind of teaching the way we taught, 70 years ago, reading, writing, arithmetic, and all that stuff.
I get it.
And it's not that information's everywhere. So when I think about the real underlying character development and what are students really going to need to be successful, I think they're going to have a strong foundation of I can and can do. I think the soft era has to stop. To be completely frank, I think that we grew up. I'm a Gen Xer, and you're a little before me. You're okay, but we grew up, and I know everybody loves to say this, but it was the tough time, and it was different, right? And I think my generation created, mine and the generations before me created. It's that old parable: good times create soft people create hard times. Hard times create hard people, and hard people create good times. And that cycle continues, and it's always been. And I think we're at the tail. I think we're into this good times. It's been my generation in particular. I mean, born in '66, if you think of what I've been able to grow up, super privileged. I think I've won the Universal Life Lottery, right? Basic peace. Technology, a quality of life coming out of the post-World War II boomers that we might be losing again because it was maybe a phenomena that came out of the World War II era. There's a lot going on here. But I think that we've unfortunately, and I want to be real careful about this because I don't want to offend, but our generations made the good times, and the good times have made for some soft people. And I think there's a lot of young kids that struggle. And I think it's time to, I'll give you an analogy. There was the biosphere experiment in the 90s where they were thinking, if we were going to live on Mars, we'd have to live in a biodome, and we'd have to create everything, trees and plants and this and that. And they tried it. They'd run this experiment. And at the end of it, it didn't quite work out, but the one phenomena they noticed that trees were falling over. Why? Because they were never exposed to wind as saplings. And so they hadn't put down roots. Trees need it. There's a term for it. And if you don't get that stressors at a young age, you are ill-equipped to deal with the harsh realities of adulthood and the real world. And these kids are going to grow up in a really weird time where they're going to have a lot of opportunity. There's going to be a lot of interesting things with technology. But I think that the idea of this cush coming out of college and into a job and then a pension, and that's gone. And so they're going to need to reinvent themselves often. And if you don't have a strong foundation and this idea that I am, and that I can, and that why not me instead of why me, it's going to be hard. And the kids that have it will succeed, because they can be disrupted. Disruption isn't going to phase them. Whereas the kids that don't, it could break them. And I'm concerned about that.
I agree with you. I agree with you, because I came out of the World War II generation.
Yes.
I mean, when I was born, the war had just basically ended.
Right.
And then there was growth and prosperity, starting a prosperity, and then 20 years later or so, there was another war. So we go through these war cycles, and the tough succeed, and the soft ones. Some of them make it.
Yeah.
Some of them make it through it, but it's how do you deal with the hard times, and that's
I'm
one of
obsessed
the
with
things.
that.
Yeah. So and anybody who's been through the ups and downs of hard times and good times, and you're an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, besides being a professor, and spent my life doing that. There's always ups and downs.
It's peaks and valleys, right?
It's peaks and valleys.
It's inevitable.
And can you pull up your socks and put on your boots and get out there and do it all over again?
Yeah.
That's, some people can't, and it's a sad thing, and some people know they have to.
I want kids that can. I really, this drone, it's a means to an end. I have, others can focus on the drones and the tech. I really want legends.
Yeah.
It's everything that I do is based on that. Because I just know I'm like that. It's because of Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I wish I could give it to everybody because it's awesome. And I also want people to think about what I'm also big on what drives you, who are you, what do you want out of life? Because you get this one shot. There's a great book called Life in Half a Second, Michael Malkowitz, I think. And it's awesome. It's like, if you look at the history of the universe, and we get a sliver. And we agonize over these things. And so why not do with it what you want to do, right? And I think once you have found that, and I found it with Drone Legends. I absolutely have, and I'll tell people it feels like being a round peg in a round hole. And I've never been happier. Never.
Great.
And it's because I found finally something that I can anchor myself to and that I believe in. And it is clearly trying to help other people achieve that.
It's the greatest.
Cool.
It is the greatest.
Yeah.
And you will have students, young boys and girls who will become men and women,
Yeah.
who will have sons and daughters, who will say, I remember this man came into our classroom and his company and taught me this, and that's why I'm a success today.
Yeah.
It taught me that, and it's because of Scott Buell.
That'd be amazing.
And it will happen. You know that
Yeah,
that
it
will
will.
happen.
Wow.
You'll see it. People will, well, if they could send you an email, okay, they would send you an email.
Yeah.
By the way, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how did they get a hold of you?
So I'm real active on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just go there and look up Scott Buell, Drone Legends. You will find me, and you can just message me there. You can email me at scott@dronelegends.com. I'll respond to your email. But you can follow me on all the channels. So I'm pretty vocal on all of these channels. I like to get out there and spread the word, and it's how I built the business. I'm a big believer in self-promotion, and I talk a lot about it on all the different platforms.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's great. Scott and I met at a junior achievement event.
Yes.
Where we were, and Allie, who was on our last show,
Okay, yeah.
and how to help students who were middle school students just getting ready to get into high school.
Yeah.
And we had a fascinating discussion, and lo and behold, that's why we have the show today. It's very interesting. I want people to be able to use your services.
Yeah.
If there's professors out there, if there's students out there, teachers out there, it's great. And when you'll be able to see this on YouTube, but I'll describe it on for those listening on Spotify and all the other channels. Scott has books here.
We've got novels. Somebody wrote a
Novels.
novel called Rise of the Legends. It's
Rise of
about
the Legends.
a
Look
bunch
at
of
that.
drone legends, kids that are in the Drone Legends program that become the leaders of the world. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, it's very cool.
Little Legends is K through 12. This is stories coupled with after-school programs, unplugged coding, physical activities. So all of these, we call it the Drone Legends universe. We've got Little Legends at kindergarten. We've got the STEM Fundamentals, which is kind of the core product using that micro drones at the grades 4 through 8-ish. And then in the high school level, we've got the competitive drone racing circuit where they're wearing the goggles and they're competing, but they're also learning precision drone piloting skills. And then we've just built an FAA preparatory course. So if students want to go and get their drone license, we can train them to take the test and that whole thing.
Scott, this has been great.
Thank you.
Really.
Yeah,
I really
I've enjoyed
appreciate
this.
it.
It's fun.
Listen, folks, don't forget to subscribe to Scott's channels, and don't forget to subscribe to Digging for Gold on Spotify, and Dan G, the number 4, the letter U, the number 2 on YouTube, and you will find Digging for Gold there. And we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and so many other social media
all
channels.
over them, right?
It's
There's a handful.
great.
TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X now.
X, we're on X, we're on Threads, we're on all of them.
Oh, you're on Threads. I'm not on Threads.
Yeah,
It's the
we're
one thing
on
I haven't
Threads.
jumped over to yet. I got enough.
Well, listen, Scott,
Hey, man.
thanks very much.
Yeah, good to see you, dude.
It's
Thank
been
you
great.
very much. I appreciate it.
It's been great.
Thank
Folks, thanks for watching. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next episode of Digging for Gold.